Hey everybody, Joe here. So I have to tell you, this morning I got up, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and I realized that I forgot to make a special treat for someone that I promised I would drop off. So I was racking my brain about what could I possibly do that I can throw in the oven while I'm getting changed and then pull it out, let it cool, throw some makeup on, get my bags ready and get out the door. And I have just the recipe because this is one of my absolute favorites. In fact, it's sort of an internet classic by a pastry chef called Francois Payard. And this is a naturally gluten-free cookie. You don't have to use any replacements in it. He's a New York pastry chef, and at his restaurant, I believe bakery, they used to make this cookie all the time, and it's a classic. But I like to pull it out every once in a while and kind of like give it a refresh and also share it as much as I can because it is so easy and it's also ridiculously delicious. I also realized that I don't do enough videos about chocolate, which is my absolute favorite thing in the entire world. So this is going to start a series of videos that I'm going to show you how to work with chocolate, doing really, really simple things that come out in extraordinary ways. So here we go. In a bowl, I like to do a half recipe of this because it makes 6 cookies, which is perfect. But the full recipe will make you 12 really big cookies, or you can also make some smaller versions. So this morning I'm using 1.5 cups of sifted icing sugar. Sifted just so you don't have any lumps in there. To that, I'm gonna add 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. I only use Dutch processed cocoa powder. It's really dark. It gives a much better chocolatey flavor. In this bowl, I'm gonna add just like a real small pinch of salt. I would say 1/8 of a teaspoon, but if you don't have 1/8 of a teaspoon, it's this much. That's it. Don't do too much. It really will taste salty, and that's not what you want at all. So this is my dry mixture. That's it. There's nothing more to it. I'm just gonna stir it together a little bit just to get the chocolate through. And to this, I'm gonna add 2 lovely eggs. I'm gonna keep the yolks for something else. Usually I make a Caesar salad dressing or something. So cracking the eggs and putting the whites right into the bowl. Save your yolks. Okay, that goes in there. These are some really beautiful eggs I got at the farm. Support your local, anything you can lately. Okay, so 2 egg whites in there. Save my egg yolks for later, don't forget. And in this bowl, I'm gonna start to stir this together. It's gonna come together pretty quickly. And once I see it started to get a little bit wet, I'm gonna add in my nuts. Let me talk to you a little bit about these nuts. So I have 1 cup here of toasted pecans. This recipe actually calls for walnuts. Use whatever you have, but I will say if you want to substitute for something like peanuts, like a really fatty nut, it does not work as well. Generally, I stick to pecans or walnuts. If you're allergic to nuts, you might want to experiment with something else, some seeds. Haven't done it, let me know. Also, instead of eggs, if you want to make it vegan and use aquafaba, which is the bean water, bean juice, bean liquid, that comes in a tin of beans. Feel free to try that. Let me know how it turns out. I actually think it will probably be great. So in terms of chopping these nuts, what I want to do is I don't want to have a lot of like nut powder, which will happen when you chop a toasted nut. So I'm just running my knife through it. You could do it a little more individually if you want. I don't have time this morning. So I'm just running it through. So basically the nuts are kind of like in half. Alternatively, you can usually buy some chopped nuts and just toast those. Make sure they're nice and toasty inside. I find it's best when they're really, really crunchy. So I'm gonna add my 1 cup to the bowl. Guys, this is pretty much it. This is the recipe. Oh, I also like to add in a little bit of vanilla. If you don't have vanilla and you wanna add something else, a little drop of Grand Marnier or something like that, I'm gonna put in 1/2 teaspoon. As you can see, it's a very detailed recipe. You just throw it all in the bowl and making a mess as usual, as I do. Okay, so you're gonna stir this together. It might be, I always just stir it all together and usually put it in the mixer and walk away for 2 minutes, but you don't need to dirty the mixer bowl, trust me. You can just mix this all together. It really doesn't take much time. If you're finding, I probably should have used a bigger bowl here. If you're finding that when you're making this, maybe you wanna mix the dry ingredients and the eggs together and then add in the nuts at the last minute. Also, in true Joe style, I'm gonna show you how to add in a few other things, make it your own. I should also mention I preheated the oven to 350 degrees, and when I put the cookies in on the lower shelf, set your rack to the lowest shelf, Then once I put the cookies in, I'm gonna turn it down to 325. Okay, so here's my batter. I mean, it looks good just like this, doesn't it? So to it, what I'm gonna add today is my very good friend over at Palette de Bean. If you've never ordered her stuff, she is an amazing chocolate company. I'll put the link below. And I happen to have a few cocoa nibs left from her, and I do love a good cocoa nib. These are, I believe, from Tanzania. They're like all about chocolate smell and flavor, and they add a ton of crunch. And I find that this cookie is all about adding a lot of texture. So I'm gonna put in a 1/4 cup of those. And I also have these chopped oranges lying around. You know, you wanna use cranberries or dried cherries, add them in. I'm gonna add in a couple tablespoons here. Do as you please, but that looks so good. Okay, so I'm just gonna mix that through. The batter is a little bit stiff, but also a tiny bit runny. That's exactly what you want. Okay, I wanna talk to you really quickly about how to put some parchment on a baking sheet so that you can have professional looking cookies. So you can take a piece of parchment and lay it over like this, but when you press it down, you're gonna have these sort of wrinkles in the corner, okay? Like that. It won't sit flat. And what will happen when you're baking is the cookies will kind of like lean into those and not make a really nice, perfectly round cookie. So what I like to do is just put 2 of the sides into the pan. So I have this side here and this side here, flush with the bottom of the pan. And then I'm just going to fold under. There you go, fold under, push into my pan, make sure it's lined up to the edge, and then just press. And that way, I have a really nice, clean piece of parchment paper, and I'm guaranteed, I'm doing it at the top here too, I'm guaranteed to get some really nice round cookies. Now I have a sheet that perfectly fits in, and my cookies will come out nice and round and professional looking. This will make 6 cookies. You could also make a few smaller cookies, so do as you wish, experiment. All I'm gonna do here is scoop this. It will spread, so give it some room, into 6. So 1. Make sure you have a nice large cookie sheet. Alternatively, if you really don't care that they run into one another, that's fine. They're still gonna taste amazing. Okay, so 6. These have these amazing chunks in them, so I think they're gonna come out looking really beautifully textured. Don't waste any of your batter. Make sure you use it all up. You know I like to get my hands in there, what can I say? Okay, so there we go, empty bowl, all the chunks on here. It's important that each cookie have about the same amount, just so that they bake properly. I'm gonna put them in on the bottom shelf, turn the oven down to 325 degrees. Bottom shelf, 325, don't forget. And I bet you wanna see the finished cookies. I mean, come on. This took 2 minutes to make, really high quality ingredients. Gluten-free, can be nut-free if you need it to be, dairy-free. I mean, forget about it. I'm not giving these to anybody. You're staying right here. Make these, post them on Instagram at Zoe Ford Montreal, tag me. I would love to see what you come up with. These cookies are crazy. I mean, 2 seconds to make, covers a lot of your bases in terms of being gluten-free, really easy. I would say they keep for a few days, but maybe not as long as a chocolate chip cookie. Sign up to our newsletter. I will put the recipe in there. You can follow along with everything that's going on at Zoe Ford. We're shipping all the pantry stuff across Canada. We always have little news and tidbits going on, videos, recipes, and send me a message anytime. Let me know what you'd like to see. We'll be doing lots more chocolate, I promise. As we go into the fall, we're gonna need it. So I will keep you supplied with amazing recipes. And see you soon. Bake, bake.